Welcome to the Football Guys Dynasty Show. It's me, your favorite professional nerd, Jagger May. Joining me, as always, is our Dynasty captain, Jeff Bell. And as promised, we have him back, Hutch, in his tux. We record all three shows at the same time, so we're dapper this week, guys. We're real dapper. With that being said, we have our trade show, and I'm disappointed in you guys. I can tell you guys have trade deadlines because we have less and less trades coming through. Boo! Shame on you. Shame on you. More on that later. First trade we have Odunze, Kyle Green on Blue Sky. By the way, we're all on Blue Sky. You can follow us there. I'm on every app. It's kind of exhausting. Kyle Green, he sent Aaron Jones, Jalen Wright, and a 2025 second. So in my eyes, kind of nothing in a second. Like Aaron Jones is something, but he's like also nothing. He's Dogecoin on a spike week. You know, you got to really you got to spend them now, I guess, before that value drops. And they receive Odunze in a 2025 fourth. Hutch, we'll start with you. Where are you at with this trade?
Yeah, we talked about this on the Risers and Fallers show, but I think we're going to see this 2025 NFL draft class where this running back class really seems very, very strong. We're going to see some running backs get replaced that we're not really expecting. I think Aaron Jones might be one of them, where it's like he's had a solid season, but he's approaching that age cliff. He's been on and off this year. He's had a little bit of injuries as well. I think this is the point where he's going to fall off that age cliff and probably, get some competition this year. The Vikings were consistently trying to evolve with their backs this year. We've seen it a lot, and I think they're going to just scrap and say we need a running back, and they're just going to get a big time player in this draft. I think that's very, very possible. And then Jalen Wright barely has done anything this year. He hasn't got on the field over Raheem Mostert, and that's quite a feat in a very bad way. Raheem Mostert has played terrible this year. And then a 2025 second, it's a second round pick. You'll see what you get. Odunze, though, is a really, really talented wide receiver. He hasn't had the hottest rookie year. I think that's more because of Caleb Williams' struggles, and I think it's because he's had DJ Moore and Keenan Allen in front of him to, take consistent target shares. We saw the same thing with JSN, where he was a first-round pick, highly touted wide receiver who just had DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in front of him with a mediocre quarterback. It just didn't work for fantasy the first year because it's hard to battle out these veterans right away as a rookie. So I think as the future goes on, we're going to see Odunze become a really good fantasy option. So I would take Odunze and the fourth in this situation.
This is a textbook why you don't have trade deadlines in your dynasty leagues, because to me, I read this as I'm trying to win a championship. Aaron Jones, he's a borderline running back one, and I can put him right into my lineup, and he'll help me win a championship. And I'm still getting a young guy back in Jalen Wright, and I mean, that second could be anything. That second is certainly going to be the best second round pick of the next rookie draft. And
yeah,
I mean, Odunze hasn't really done much. He's on my bench. I'm not putting him in my title game. Like I really need this boost right now. And meanwhile, you just pilfered Odunze for an old running back and a pile of beans there. So I think it's an excellent trade. I really like the Odunze side.
100%.
I love your commentary there of the mental gymnastics of a contender to justify giving up dynasty value, because you're right. Like one of my home league, I have Aaron Jones, right? Like my running backs are Aaron Jones or Ramondre Stevenson. So like two staples are holding like that together essentially. And I'm watching this game now where there's been 13 points. I know there's only been one touchdown. It's not Aaron Jones, and how old is he? He's not getting any younger, I know, like, again, people don't ever, I think we overuse age cliff so much that it's lost its meaning. So people don't think that it's actually a cliff. They're like, well, did you see him? He still got it. And then it's like, this is what happened, Jeff. We talked about this last show, that second half of the season, these old running backs are just cooked. They're dust. You can't do anything with them anymore,
Well, and I think people see Vikings explosive offense and Aaron Jones, the feature back for the Vikings. They're an explosive offense, and they don't realize that he's basically been the same thing as Brian Robinson Jr. has this year. And Brian Robinson Jr. is kind of one of those guys he's boring, and I don't know, what do you got there? It's just like marketing is like the difference between those two of those.
And that's what's funny you say that. That's why I like Brian Robinson Jr. Like,
that's why I love him.
Yeah, it's like he costs nothing. Like people are like, ew, like Brian Robinson Jr. I'm like, okay, I'll take Jaden Daniels RB1. Like he'll give me 11 points every week or more if it's a good touchdown week. You know, so
Yep.
he's like, to be honest, Brian Robinson Jr. is like, he's cheaper money too, if you really think about it. Like at the end of the day, if you look at their stat line, like if you just look at a box score, like Brian Robinson Jr. is a discount. I will say he's hard to buy because some people do know. They do know what they have in them. So you're like, here's a second.
Well,
they're like, no, give me a first. You're like, well, that's too much. You know?
because the person that understands it's the person that's got him. So it's
Yeah.
like one of those of like, it only takes one to actually understand what's happening, and if they're the one that's holding him because they are the one that understands what's happening, then you're not buying the discount anymore. You're paying market there.
Yeah. Before we move on to our next trade, we got to pay some bills. If you want to make this trade show, if you want us to roast you or validate you, all the feelings, leave a comment below of your trade. Leave us some context too, like if it's super flex or something, because like I don't want to say that's a terrible trade and it was like a 1 QB trade or something like that. Because I'll tell you it's bad. I'm not here to. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to make you feel good. Just because. Also, like, subscribe. If you're on the audio side, it really helps us if you leave a review, leave us 5 stars. Tell Hutch that you're disappointed that you missed his tucks because you're listening. You'll catch it next time. And I think that's it. I did all the things. Oh, one more. Footballguys.com/plans. We have a rookie guide coming up. We're having a brand spanking new website basically being built right now. So you want to sign up for that.
Let's go.
All right. Bills have been paid. My pets have been fed. Jeff's kids have been fed. Hutch, you're too young to own anything. Mark Andrews is our next trade.
Dreams. That's what Hutch owns. Hopes and dreams.
Steve Molina. I don't know if you've sent me this trade before, but I've seen this. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. You sent Mark Andrews. The moment I saw someone sell Mark Andrews, I was like, this is probably a mistake. You know, it's like right away, I'm like, what are we doing? And you received Jatavian Sanders and the 204. That is fun now. We do know what picks are in most places. And I mean picks as in draft picks, not the popular Disney-owned animation company. So, Jeff, we'll start with you here. Why is this trade bad?
Jatavian Sanders is the type of guy that you can just turn profits in Dynasty on. And to me, Mark Andrews is a player that you're starting most every week in your tight end spot. I mean, maybe if you've got a tight end premium and you've got like Trey McBride, I'm still starting him over Andrews. But that's the only real knock on Andrews at this point. Maybe his age. Maybe you're a little bit concerned about the age, but we've seen tight ends age pretty gracefully. He's going to be attached to Lamar Jackson. I don't have any concerns there about Andrews. These tight ends like Jatavian Sanders will get you in trouble in Dynasty because for all of them that you hope work out, not very many of them do work out. And so often you see like a Puka Nacua was Jatavian Sanders like 2 years ago, and everybody was all in on that. Or Cole Kmet was Jatavian Sanders a year ago, and like everybody was
Remember
in on
Jelani
that.
Woods?
Yeah, Johnny Woods. I mean, you can run down the list, and I'm sure that watch this show, give me comments about that tight end that you held on to and that did work out, and Kate Otten or whoever
Don't
it might
put
be.
Trey McBride. Don't. If you say Trey McBride,
Trey
I'm
McBride
gonna
does not
scream.
count.
Yeah.
Trey McBride was actually had receiving skills that Jatavian Sanders has never had. So no,
A second round pick, like an early second round pick. Like I'll scream if you put that in the comments.
and
just
Sanders is a project, and there's so much that has to go right for him to grow into a player that is actually being schemed into the offense instead of kind of catching some balls here or there. That's the other thing we run into with tight ends, and especially young tight ends, where you'll get a guy on a bad team that's on the field and he catches 2 or 3 passes because he's on the field solely by proximity, but they're not scheming up 8 plays in his direction or anything like that. And so maybe Sanders gets there, and maybe I'm wrong, and I feel great for him if that's the case, and great for everybody that's holding him. I'm skeptical, and I think that more often than not, if you bet on the wrong side of that and add impact players like Mark Andrews, who's been tight end 5 for most of this season, second half of this season, that's how you win in Dynasty.
Yeah,
I'll play devil's advocate before I give it to you, Hutch. I think Sanders is a buy. I just don't think you should spend Andrews for him. is the problem here. Like Sanders is a tight end I will go throw a third or a late second for, especially if I need something for it and I will go spend it. And I think there is a path for him. But it's like, to give you more to what you said, Jeff, there's a path, meaning that like I need things to happen where I just would rather have Mark Andrews, especially at a position like tight end. Why am I selling a piece for hope? Whatever you're drafting, like I really like this class, this tight end class. You've heard me talk about it a lot. Everyone's heard me talk about it a lot. But I am hoping that every one of those guys is Mark Andrews. Realistically, I am. I'm hoping every one of them is Mark Andrews. So why not just keep Mark Andrews? Like you said, they age gracefully. Did the first half of the season really hurt people that badly to where they're doing
it was
this right
two
now?
games. Even it was like 2 weeks. It was like week 3 and 4. It was back-to-back zeros, and since then he's
Yeah.
been radioactive and everything.
Yeah, I mean, he's I think pretty sure he's caught like 8 touchdowns his last 9 games or something like that. Like Andrews has been like really, really good. He's caught so many touchdowns. He's been really involved in the red zone. Lamar and him just click in the red zone. You know, you saw a pass this last week where against the Giants where you just saw Mark Andrews run up the middle towards the end zone. Linebacker got turned around and it was just automatic. Like Lamar just threw it right over his head and it was so easy. And I agree with you guys that this is a good trade to make, or this is a bad trade to make for this manager. You should probably want to receive the Mark Andrews side, but I am going to play devil's advocate like Jagger did. And I do think Jatavian Sanders is a realistic tight end to buy right now. And I agree you should send a late second or a couple of thirds, something more cheaper than that, not give up a really solid option like Andrews. But Sanders showed a lot this year. He had some injuries. He was in and out of the lineup, but man, when he had opportunity, he really showed up. He had some big time athletic plays. He made some really good, really good things for this team. And looking towards the next years or so, the Panthers still have a limited receiver room. They're obviously going to add receivers. They're going to make differences, but Bryce Young is only getting better and better. Jatavian Sanders is likely going to have a role in this offense. I'm pretty sure Tommy Tremble is a free agent next year too. I don't know why they would, make a big pull to re-sign him. It seems like Sanders is going to be the tight end of the future for this team. He's made enough plays this year where I think he's going to earn that opportunity. So I think this is a really, really good player to go out and buy and see if you can hit on one of those late round tight ends that end up actually doing something for you.
It'd be interesting to see what the Panthers do at this rate and how they've drafted. I wouldn't be surprised if they get someone like Ricky White. They just love the same mold of player. It's like, well, let's get Xavier Legette, because it didn't work out when we drafted. I mean, and like Legette's done a little bit better, but it just feels like they keep kind of drafting the same guys sometimes.
Yeah, Jonathan Mingo too, the
Yeah, that's what I'm
crazy
saying.
big athlete that didn't produce
Yeah.
much, but then all of a sudden you think that it's going to work for you, and then it doesn't.
To me, they seem like they threw some darts this year to see if anything would stick because they knew they didn't have NFL talent around Bryce Young, and like Ted McMillan or something like that screams the Panthers of like, let's just go get a guy at the top of the draft that we've got the number 1 wide receiver now. And I don't know. I mean, Sanders, there are certainly things there in his physical skill set that could work into that, but just seen it time and time again. We've got these teams that are bad teams that they'll basically scatter shot to see if anything hits, and then they'll realize, well, nothing did hit, and let's actually go out and let's add some blue chips. I mean, the Bears, I feel like one of those of like they scatter shotted some things and tried to put some things around, and Cole Kmet, a primary receiver for Justin Fields, and then they were like, well, okay, that didn't work. Let's go get DJ Moore, and I'll go get Odunze, and by the way, we'll get Keenan Allen too, and we'll actually give Caleb Williams a chance to succeed.
Yeah, I agree. It's like you said, man. Like you should buy them, but you're paying You're paying gamble prices. Third round picks are lottery tickets and gambles anyway. Most of the time, I remember Javon Baker and how he was a Patriots wide receiver one. Stuff like that. It's do gamble like that. Just don't do this. Anyway, another week, another Puka Nacua trade. Adam Hahn on an app. I don't remember. Actually, you were on YouTube. He sent to Puka Nacua. He received Jordan Addison, Zach Charbonnet, Tucker Kraft, and a 25 first. That's a lot. Is it enough, Jeff?
I'd take Puka. I mean, if I can turn those pieces into Puka, I'll take Puka all day. I'd so much rather have Puka Nacua and the things that I can add in the other roster spaces than I just don't see. I mean, Jordan Addison has had a phenomenal year, has been well above expectations. again, is Sam Darnold going to be his quarterback next year? He's going to be breaking in a rookie that we don't know if is good, and JJ McCarthy. Is he going to disappear behind Justin Jefferson and a fully healthy TJ Hawkinson? I don't know. Puka Nacua looks like he's going to be top 5 dynasty wide receiver for the next 10 years. And that's the type of thing that if I can give some fringe pieces, I don't know what Zach Charbonnet is going to be. I don't know. Ken Walker, are they going to extend Ken Walker? I mean, I said on the show with Dave Kluge on Friday that they should be trading Ken Walker after this year and make Charbonnet their feature back. I don't know if their mind's there. I don't know what they're going to do. If Zach Charbonnet is just a backup until he's 28 years old, okay, you've got nothing there. Tucker Kraft, to me, feels like we're excited about him in Dynasty because he's found money. Let's be honest. He's found money in Dynasty. You drafted him either in the 4th round or you picked him up for free, and you can occasionally put him in, but he's not a Trey McBride, Brock Bowers. He's not a top end tight end option there. And that first, I don't know where that first is, but right now you're looking at a couple of wishful pieces and Jordan Addison to turn into Puka Nacua, who I'm convinced is going to be a top 5 dynasty wide receiver for the immediate future moving forward. I'm taking Puka Nacua all day, and I'll just add some extra next Sincere McCormick or whatever it might be in my free spaces from Zach Charbonnet and from Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, Tucker Kraft is like that quarter you found under the machine at the arcade, where it's like, oh, I found this free quarter. I get an extra game playing now.
It's my
and you
lucky
get to go.
quarter.
Yeah, it's your lucky quarter. You get an extra game.
This.
You get to play an extra game now, and then all of a sudden, that's it. It's gone after that one game. You know,
we do it in Dynasty where we're so excited about it, but also we can't wait to sell it because it's like,
yeah,
we don't believe in this at all. But at the same time, I'm so excited I have it. But please give me anything for it.
Yeah, exactly. There it is. I'm with you, Jeff. It's Puka all day because when you
get
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say. Usually, when you have this kind of trade where it's like 4 pieces for one, you usually want the one blue chip asset because that's the difference making asset. Because when you have all these other pieces, it's like these guys can go up and down. Like we mentioned with Jordan Addison, is he gonna fall behind a healthier TJ Hawkinson with a new quarterback? Who knows? Zach Charbonnet, he's likely a backup most of his career with Ken Walker there. Maybe he gets an opportunity to start. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just a backup. Tucker Kraft, he's that quarter we found on the floor, but that's probably all he is at this point. And then a first can be anything. A first can be Quentin Johnston or Jalen Reagor. It could be Justin Jefferson. We have no idea what it could be. It could be a mix of things. But Puka is Puka. He's one of the best receivers in football. And he's such a fun player to have on your fantasy team because I love the report a few weeks ago where he learned he's in the NFC West. He had no idea he was in the NFC West. That dude just catches, runs, and plays football, man. He loves the game. And I love to have him on a fantasy team. So yeah, when you have an opportunity to trade 3 or 4 players to get a blue chip asset, get the blue chip asset. Just take that guy in Dynasty.
He reminds me of like wide receiver Rob Gronkowski, kind of.
Yeah, that's so similar. Yeah, I see that.
He's like, I just go out there, catch the ball, and hit guys. You know, that's just
that's his business, man.
Yeah. And to play mental gymnastics like you did earlier, Jeff. I got Puka Nacua. I just inherited this team, and it's time to blow it up, and it's not that good. This one trade fixed my team. This will do it. Charbonnet's going to be the starter. Addison going to be the wide receiver 2. He's going to be top 24 like we all thought. Tucker Kraft, top 5. 2025 first, right there. Evan Stewart, he's going to land. I got, what's better than 1 Jordan Addison? 2. It's kind of what, that's what that is. And I get it, guys. And Adam, for your point here, we're not trying to roast you or anything like that.
No.
Give us context of what your roster is, because let's say you have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. I had a roster that had that. It is possible that this could happen. And then you sold it. That might be a little bit different. And I'm curious what that 25 first was. Because let's say that's the 102, 103. Does that do anything different for you, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're giving up the 101 or something, 102, 103, sure. I mean, if you're giving me Ashton Genty or Tet McMillan, okay, now we're starting to talk here because maybe I'm buying myself a player in that first that I believe does have that similar ceiling as Puka Nacua. And all of a sudden now these young complementary pieces are exactly what they are. They're young complementary pieces. It's just like, if you're giving me a really good salad and a really good side of whatever else and like a grilled cheese sandwich versus if you're doing that in a steak, you're talking about 2 different meals here. And in one of them, the salad's nice with the grilled cheese sandwich, but I'm probably walking away a little bit hungry. The other one, I got a steak, and anything else around that is just making that
Yeah.
steak a little bit better.
I
Yeah.
love our
Yeah, I
analogies
agree.
today. I love our
Yeah.
analogies today.
Yeah.
Love it.
Next, we're gonna end on a whimper. We got a Rachaad White trade. That's something. I get it. You sent Deontay Johnson in the 202 for Rachaad White in the 304. You won this year. Let's just say that. But let's talk about Deontay Johnson. Like, what are we doing with him at this point going forward, Jeff?
Trying to buy him if he's free and hoping he turns into anything. But I mean, at
Yeah.
that point,
Like, he's a
I
good player, right? Like, he doesn't suck, right?
I don't think he sucks. I don't think he's quite as good as we built up into our mind, because I think when you look at him, he had one really good fantasy year, and it was the year that Ben Roethlisberger had already mentally retired and was trying. He was basically had a bet of how fast can I get rid of the ball, and Deontay Johnson just got a lot of volume off of that. And then otherwise, he's just kind of been an 800 yard to 1,000. He's basically been fancy Khalil Shakir, I think, for a lot of his career. And right now, nobody is believing in Khalil Shakir, but everybody believes in Deontay Johnson. So I think that that's kind of what's happened there. And I think he's the type of player that gets you in trouble in Dynasty, because you see that 1 year, especially earlier in his career, and you're like, oh, he can do that. And you hold on to him forever. And then all of a sudden, all the good opportunities to get rid of him have passed by. And then you're just getting rid of him for anything that you can, or you're dropping him.
Yeah, usually with a situation like Deontay Johnson, where like the Ravens and Deontay Johnson have really not gotten along, it's been a huge problem. There's clearly something wrong there. Usually, you don't see a player, especially at the age range he's at, bounce back from that in a major way. Maybe you see him on the field and get productive, maybe with another team, or maybe work out relationship with the Ravens and get back on the field somehow. Maybe get some receptions here and there, but I don't think he's ever going to go back to being a solid wide receiver 2 in fantasy. I think we're looking at him, like Jeff said, buy him for as cheap as you possibly can. Hope he does anything that's relevant for fantasy football. But yeah, I am losing faith in Deontay Johnson pretty quickly right now.
Let's play this out in the NFL side here, Jag. Of
Sure.
like, is a team going to give? What would it take for a team to give a meaningful contract to
It's not going to happen.
Deontay Johnson?
It's not going to happen.
Probably not going to happen. And if it would take like this one very specific outcome that is a 1% outcome, I mean, are they going to build an offense around that type of guy? Probably not. It's just going to be complementary piece that might run into some really strong productive stretches, but you're not going to go out and say, this guy's my wide receiver 1. I trust him. I count on him. Here is 13, 14, $25 million a year.
It really felt like Deontay Johnson. Everyone was just like, I'm good. Like, I don't want that. And the Ravens were just like, we're trying to win, so we need depth.
The story that I heard was that they just blocked him from going to Houston, that Houston had lost Diggs, and they were like, we don't have a wide receiver 3. We want to go get Deontay Johnson. And the Ravens basically just kind of blocked that from happening is what I had heard was the story behind the scenes.
That's interesting. They were just playing keep away.
Basically. And they
that would make me bitter. That would actually make me bitter if I was Deontay Johnson. I'm not going to lie. I would be actually I'd be upset if someone wanted to use me and it was a contender, and then you're going to have me just to bench me. That's like, to me, that's a little bit different. And like, it's like, to be honest, I could see again, like, I know I keep mentioning the same teams, but to be honest, Houston, because Stephon Diggs was a mercenary. They could get, I mean, I think John Mechie's fine, but even after that, it's really thin there, and you just want depth at that position. He could go there. I keep bringing up the Commanders. The Commanders, I'm sorry, guys, Luke McCaffrey ain't it, guys. Shut up. Everyone that was hyping you up about Luke McCaffrey, he played receiver for an hour at Rice. At Rice, guys. Like, I'm sorry. This is why I tell people that level of competition should factor into a lot of the things that you're scouting there. I'm just like, I just thought that was insane that people were, because like, I was a Jahan Dotson guy, and it was like, Luke McCaffrey's better. I'm like, okay, John Dotson may suck, but I don't think it's because Luke McCaffrey is like, well, Christian McCaffrey's his brother. I'm like, are we really doing this? Like, why isn't Equimanius St. Brown right now like a wide receiver one somewhere? Like, why? It's like, what are
Yeah,
we doing?
You know who
exactly.
didn't do that? The Football Guys rookie guy did not do that. So there you go.
Yeah. So
There you
sign
go.
up, guys. We don't do that here. Luke McCaffrey was worth the 3rd or 4th round pick you paid for him, and always was. Again, he played wide receiver 1 hour at Rice. With that being said, Kyle Green on Blue Sky. Good job getting Rachaad White. The 202 hurts more than Deontay Johnson, in my opinion. Like that 202 hurts. I think that is the most valuable piece out of all of this, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
So
I would agree there.
And context does disappear when we're just looking at something on paper because we don't know when this was done. And if this was done after it looked like maybe Bucky Irvin was going to miss some time and you're getting Rachaad White and you're going for a championship, like that's one conversation. If it was done after Bucky Irving looked phenomenal and ran for 175 yards or whatever it was against the Buccaneers, that's maybe a little bit different conversation. But I think Rachaad White I think fantasy is too mean to Rachaad White. I think that Rachaad White is a productive back. He's shown himself to be a very productive fantasy back. He's just not flashy. He's not super exciting. And some efficiency numbers didn't like him because they were running him into the middle of the line over and over again. That was what they were using him for. But
spamming halfback dive is what they were.
And he still was a top 12 fantasy running back. It's like, I don't care how it's like a hot dog. I don't care how it's made. I just enjoy watching a ball game. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rachaad White is incredibly undervalued. I mean, you look at the rushing yards over expected numbers, you look at some efficiency metrics, you seem pretty grossed out. But that, like, when he's in space, I mean, the dude is just a monster. He's really hard to bring down in the open field. He's big enough to break tackles. He's fast, and when he gets going, man, he's really, really hard to stop. He's a really good player, and I think there is, as much as we love Bucky Irving and as phenomenal as a player he is, there is still room for him to be potentially involved in this offense as a potential flex-worthy asset here. So. I mean, at the end of the day, like, who do we like in this trade? If we're sending Deontay Johnson 202 receiving, Rachaad White 304, I mean, I think with the 202 being the most valuable asset, you might lean that way, but like, it's definitely close for me.
I mean, like, I'm looking just at the big board of players I think the 202 are. Amari Hampton can be anywhere from the top 5 to 2nd round. I'd rather have him. I'd rather have if Woody Marks is there. Even if Caleb Johnson is there, I'd rather have that, depending on what team he's in, as of all the crap I've talked about him. Any of the tight ends, depending on where they're at. It's just it's just relative. And I'm not so mad about an early second if you're going out of your way to win. Because like Jeff said, Rachaad White's fine. And like I was going to say earlier, like we need to get in our merch shop, like just like a t-shirt. Because I always say this, like a player's fine. And that's okay, guys. Like not everyone's the worst player ever. Not everyone's Christian McCaffrey.
Buy a Football Guys merch shop.
Yeah, or just insert any player because someone just he's trash or he fell off or like he's a stud. He's so overrated. I'm like, I just think he's like a good player, and people get upset.
And I want to give Kyle some praise here because he did one of the things that I really like is getting that 304 back and making this trade. Maybe it's looked at as not much. That 304 is ammunition, and especially sitting here December 16th. Yes, because you can move that back up and you can walk that back into the 207 or something like that. And all of a sudden you can be in a position where you're basically getting the exact same player at that pick as you were going to get with that 202. And all of a sudden you've turned Deontay Johnson and garbage into Rachaad White for basically free.
Yeah. And actually what I'm thinking now is just like, all right, go make your playoff run, go run out the ship, then immediately go take that 304 and Rachaad White and go try to get a second. Again, that's what I would do.
Well, essentially. I mean, your Tucker Crafts or your Jatavian Sanders or whatever, go out and turn those plus the 304 into that 202 again.
Yeah.
You can do that as well, yeah.
That's it for the trade show, guys. We actually made that last longer than I thought we would. If you guys have any more trades you want us to discuss, pop those in the comments. I think that's it. I'm Jagger. That's Jeff. That's Hutch. Love you. We'll see you on the next one.